Do you remember those forgotten suppers found only in old church cookbooks? These meals once brought warmth and comfort to community tables. What made them disappear? And what have we lost? Mock duck loaf was a staple in many church kitchens when meat was either too expensive or unavailable. Made primarily from textured vegetable protein or seasoned gluten, this loaf was a clever vegetarian alternative that gave congregations a sense of indulgence without breaking budgets. The loaf was carefully seasoned with herbs, spices, and sometimes a splash of Worcestershire sauce to mimic the savory flavors of traditional meatloaf. Its texture was firm but tender, easily sliced for serving alongside mashed potatoes or green beans. While it might sound simple today, back then this dish was revolutionary in offering a meatless main course that could still satisfy hearty appetites. Its popularity grew in times when rationing was common or during Lent when meatless meals were a religious requirement. Church groups often took pride in perfecting their version, sometimes adding a tomato-based glaze on top or folding in bits of nuts and vegetables to add texture and nutrition. This loaf was as much about community spirit as it was about sustenance, a dish that brought people together to enjoy a meal without excess, reflecting the values of thrift and fellowship. Even today, some old church cookbooks treasure this recipe as a reminder of simpler, resourceful times. Oyster stew was often the dish of choice in colder months, cherished for its rich, creamy texture and subtle ocean flavor. Traditionally made with either canned or fresh oysters, this stew brought a sense of warmth and comfort to church suppers, especially during holidays or special occasions. The oysters were gently simmered in a milk or cream-based broth, often seasoned with a bit of onion, celery, and sometimes a dash of nutmeg for depth. This simple yet elegant dish was both affordable and filling, making it perfect for large gatherings. Though oysters might seem like a luxury today, canned oysters were widely accessible and a practical choice for many communities. The stew was typically served with warm, crusty bread for dipping, rounding out the meal. Its creamy richness offered a satisfying alternative to heavier meat-based dishes, especially in congregations that observed fasting or preferred lighter fare. Oyster stew was more than just a recipe. It was a tradition carried across generations, often featured in handwritten church cookbooks passed down as treasured family heirlooms. It represented not only nourishment, but also a shared history of resourcefulness and simple pleasures in communal dining. Eggplant parmesan casserole made its way into church suppers as a hearty, satisfying dish that stood apart from the usual potluck fare. While today it is a beloved classic, back then it was less common and somewhat exotic, lending an air of novelty to community meals. The casserole was built with layers of breaded fried eggplant slices, rich tomato sauce, and generous amounts of cheese such as mozzarella and parmesan. Baked until bubbly and golden, it offered a perfect balance of textures and flavors that appealed to both vegetarians and meat-eaters alike. This dish was especially popular in churches with Italian or Mediterranean heritage, reflecting regional tastes brought by immigrant communities. Its preparation required time and care, making it a dish often reserved for special gatherings or holiday dinners. The casserole was as much about celebration as it was about sharing, a dish that showcased creativity and the joy of communal cooking. Over time, it became a symbol of comfort and hospitality, bridging cultural divides through food. Today, it remains a reminder of how churches embraced diverse cuisines and adapted them into their own traditions. Creamed chipped beef on toast without beef was a clever adaptation of a classic budget-conscious dish in church kitchens that needed to stretch ingredients. Instead of using expensive or scarce dried beef, cooks substituted mushrooms or other vegetables to create a creamy, savory sauce served over toast. The mushrooms were finely chopped and sautéed to mimic the texture of chipped beef, then simmered in a white sauce made with milk and a hint of seasoning. This variation was especially popular during times of economic hardship or meat rationing, proving that flavor and comfort could be maintained even with limited resources. The creamy sauce clung perfectly to toasted bread, offering a filling and warm meal that was easy to prepare in large quantities. It was the kind of dish that spoke to practicality without sacrificing taste, a common theme in church cooking where communal meals needed to feed many with simple ingredients. This dish was a testament to the ingenuity of home cooks who found ways to honor tradition while adjusting to their realities. Rye bread dressing was a beloved savory side often featured in church cookbooks, reflecting regional traditions where rye bread was a staple. Unlike typical white bread dressings, this version utilized the dense, flavorful rye bread combined with fresh herbs such as sage and thyme, vegetables, and a rich broth to moisten the mixture. The dressing was baked until it developed a crisp golden crust on top while remaining moist inside, delivering a complex taste that balanced earthiness and herbaceous notes. It was a dish that carried the spirit of home and hearth, frequently served alongside roasted meats during holiday suppers or community feasts. Rye bread dressing was also prized for its heartiness and ability to absorb flavors, making it a favorite in congregations with Northern European roots. In many church kitchens, this dressing was more than a side. It was a highlight, sometimes made in large batches to share with neighbors and families. The recipe stood as a delicious example of how simple ingredients could create memorable and meaningful dishes in communal settings. Scalloped corn was a comforting dish that blended creamy, sweet corn with crunchy breadcrumbs and melted cheese to create a nostalgic favorite found only in old church cookbooks. The layers of creamed corn were carefully poured into a baking dish and topped with buttery breadcrumbs and a sprinkle of cheddar or other cheeses, then baked until golden and bubbling. This dish was often served as either a main or a side at church suppers, offering warmth and familiar flavors that reminded many of home-cooked family dinners. Scalloped corn spoke to a time when convenience met tradition, using canned or fresh corn to stretch meals and satisfy hungry crowds. Its creamy texture, combined with a crisp topping, made it an accessible luxury in many rural and small-town communities. The recipe was easy to scale up for potlucks and fundraisers, which helped maintain its presence in church menus. Today, scalloped corn is a cherished reminder of the resourceful, hearty cooking that sustained congregations through decades of change and challenge. Chicken divan casserole was a mid-century potluck favorite that found a special place in church supper traditions. This creamy casserole combined tender-cooked chicken with broccoli florets, all smothered in a rich cheese sauce before being baked to perfection. Its appeal lay in its comforting blend of protein and vegetables, making it both filling and nourishing. The dish often included ingredients like mayonnaise or cream of mushroom soup to achieve the desired creaminess, showcasing the popular convenience foods of the time. Chicken divan was especially popular in community meals because it could be made ahead and served warm or at room temperature, ideal for large groups. The casserole reflected a shift towards more elaborate dishes in church cookbooks, incorporating newer food products while still emphasizing affordability and shareability. Its widespread popularity made it a staple on church tables across America, symbolizing the growing influence of convenience cooking blended with traditional values of hospitality and fellowship. Baked salmon loaf was a classic fish-based entree that appeared frequently in old church cookbooks, prized for its ease of preparation and satisfying flavor. Made by combining flaked canned or fresh salmon with breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings, the mixture was shaped into a loaf and baked until firm and golden. This dish was often served cold, sliced for sandwiches or platters, but could also be enjoyed warm as a main course. Baked salmon loaf offered a practical way to stretch limited fish supplies while providing essential nutrients, fitting well with the frugal mindset of church kitchens. The loaf was usually accompanied by simple sauces such as tartar or lemon butter to enhance its taste. It was a popular choice during Lent or other fasting periods when meat was avoided, ensuring congregations could enjoy hearty meals without breaking religious observances. Baked salmon loaf remains a nostalgic reminder of the adaptability and creativity found in communal cooking traditions. Stuffed green peppers with rice and beef were a practical, filling dish commonly served in community meals and church suppers. The peppers were hollowed out and filled with a savory mixture of cooked rice, ground beef, onions, and seasonings, then baked in a tomato-based sauce until tender and flavorful. This recipe maximized inexpensive ingredients while offering a visually appealing and satisfying main course that could feed many. The stuffed peppers reflected a balance of nutrition and economy, making use of available vegetables and pantry staples to create a wholesome meal. Church groups often chose this dish for its ease of preparation and ability to be made in large casseroles, perfect for sharing. Its warm, hearty flavors evoked a sense of comfort and togetherness, aligning with the values of hospitality cherished in communal dining. Stuffed green peppers also showed how immigrant culinary traditions blended with American ingredients to form dishes beloved in church kitchens across regions. Chow mein casserole was a distinctly American adaptation that found a place in church potlucks, merging Asian-inspired flavors with traditional baking methods. This casserole typically combined crunchy chow mein noodles with ground meat, vegetables such as celery and onions, and a creamy or savory sauce, all baked until bubbling and golden. It was a clever way to incorporate the popular takeout dish into a format suitable for large gatherings and budget-conscious cooks. The casserole offered texture contrasts and a mild, comforting flavor profile that appealed to a wide audience, including those unfamiliar with authentic Asian cuisine. It became a favorite because it was easy to prepare in advance, transport, and serve in slices. Chow mein casserole stood as a symbol of culinary fusion and community adaptability, showcasing how churches embraced diverse recipes and made them their own. Its continued presence in some old cookbooks highlights its lasting appeal as a nostalgic and practical supper option. Pork and sauerkraut bake was a hearty dish steeped in the culinary traditions of immigrant church communities, especially those of German and Eastern European descent. Combining tender pork with tangy, fermented sauerkraut, this bake balanced rich, savory flavors with a pleasant sourness that helped brighten the palate. The dish was often prepared in large casseroles, making it ideal for feeding sizable congregations at church suppers or holiday events. Sauerkraut, prized for its long shelf life and probiotic benefits, was a staple in many pantries and added a nutritional punch to what might otherwise be a heavy meat dish. The pork was typically slow-cooked until it was tender enough to fall apart, allowing its juices to mingle deeply with the sauerkraut. The bake often included simple seasonings like caraway seeds or onions to enhance the flavor. This dish was more than a meal. It was a symbol of cultural heritage and shared history. Its enduring presence in old church cookbooks shows how food carried stories of migration, faith, and community through generations. Creamed peas and carrots offered a smooth and comforting option that was often found on church supper tables, as either a side or a main dish for those seeking lighter fare. The vegetables were gently cooked and then enveloped in a rich, creamy sauce, typically made from butter, flour, and milk or cream. This dish emphasized simple ingredients elevated through careful preparation to create a velvety texture that was both nourishing and satisfying. It was popular in congregations where vegetable gardening was common, making fresh peas and carrots readily available during growing seasons. Its sweet and savory balance appealed to a wide range of tastes, making it a crowd pleaser at potlucks and social gatherings. The creaminess made the vegetables feel indulgent while still being wholesome, providing comfort during colder months or as a gentle accompaniment to meat dishes. Creamed peas and carrots exemplified how church kitchens focused on creating inviting, hearty meals with modest ingredients that encouraged fellowship and warmth at every table. Swedish meatballs with lingonberry sauce were a celebrated dish in many Lutheran church communities, combining small, tender meatballs simmered in a creamy gravy with the bright tartness of lingonberry sauce. The meatballs were traditionally made with ground beef or pork, mixed with breadcrumbs, onions, and spices, then browned before being cooked through in a savory sauce. This dish represented a melding of comfort and celebration, often reserved for special church occasions or holiday meals. Lingonberry sauce, made from small red berries native to northern climates, added a sweet and sour contrast that perfectly complemented the richness of the meatballs. The pairing created a harmonious balance of flavors that was both satisfying and distinctive. The dish reflected the cultural heritage of Scandinavian immigrants who brought their culinary traditions to American church tables. Swedish meatballs with lingonberry sauce carried a sense of nostalgia and community pride, cherished in potlucks and family-style dinners for its warmth and heartiness. Mock tuna salad casserole was a practical and budget-friendly alternative found in church kitchens where canned tuna might not have been readily available or was too costly. Instead, cooks substituted canned chicken or other affordable meats, combined with pasta or rice, and enveloped in a creamy, seasoned sauce. This casserole offered all the comfort of a classic tuna salad casserole, but with ingredients adapted to the constraints of the pantry. It was typically topped with breadcrumbs or crushed crackers for a crunchy finish before baking. The dish was easy to prepare in large batches, making it ideal for feeding groups during church socials or fundraisers. Mock tuna salad casserole highlighted the resourcefulness of home cooks who sought to preserve familiar flavors while making adjustments for availability and cost. Its enduring popularity in old church cookbooks illustrates how adaptability and tradition coexisted in community meals, ensuring everyone could enjoy a hearty, satisfying supper, regardless of circumstance. Egg salad loaf was a unique church supper favorite that transformed simple egg salad into an elegant, moldable dish perfect for slicing and serving at socials or potlucks. Hard-boiled eggs were finely chopped and combined with mayonnaise, mustard, and seasonings, then poured into a loaf pan or mold and chilled until firm. Once set, the loaf was carefully sliced into neat portions, often garnished with herbs or colorful vegetables to enhance its presentation. This dish elevated humble ingredients into something visually appealing and shareable, reflecting the creativity and care that went into church cooking. Egg salad loaf was both economical and filling, making it a reliable choice for feeding large groups without excessive expense. Its smooth texture and tangy flavor were crowd pleasers, especially when served with crackers or fresh bread. This recipe remains a charming example of how churches turned everyday foods into communal treats that brought people together in fellowship and celebration. Hot brown casserole drew inspiration from the famous open-faced Kentucky sandwich and found a home in church kitchens eager to serve rich, satisfying meals. The casserole layered slices of turkey and crispy bacon beneath a creamy Mornay sauce, a cheesy bechamel variation, before being topped with toasted breadcrumbs and baked to golden perfection. Its warm, indulgent nature made it a standout dish at potlucks and holiday gatherings, offering a comforting twist on a classic regional favorite. Hot brown casserole showcased how church cooks adapted popular dishes into convenient formats for serving many guests. The casserole was hearty yet elegant, balancing the smoky bacon and tender turkey with the silky sauce. It was perfect for cold weather suppers when congregations sought both nourishment and festivity in their meals. The dish's popularity in church cookbooks speaks to its role in blending tradition with culinary innovation, creating memorable experiences around shared tables. Potato pancakes with applesauce were a communal supper staple, beloved for their crispy exterior and tender, flavorful inside. Made from grated potatoes mixed with eggs and flour, these pancakes were fried until golden and often served alongside a generous helping of sweet applesauce. This combination balanced savory and sweet, providing a satisfying and economical meal suitable for all ages. Potato pancakes were popular in many church communities, especially those with Eastern European heritage, reflecting long-standing culinary customs brought by immigrant families. The dish was easy to prepare in large quantities, ideal for church suppers, festivals, and fundraisers. Applesauce added moisture and sweetness without requiring expensive ingredients, complementing the humble potatoes perfectly. This meal encouraged fellowship as cooks gathered to grate potatoes and fry batches together, turning preparation into a social event. Potato pancakes with applesauce remain a nostalgic reminder of shared meals where simplicity and flavor united communities around the dinner table. Chicken and gnocchi. Bake was a creamy casserole that combined tender pieces of chicken with pillowy gnocchi in a rich sauce, often flavored with garlic, herbs, and cheese. This dish brought a touch of Italian comfort food to church suppers, appealing to those looking for warm, filling meals that stretched both protein and starch. The gnocchi provided a soft, satisfying texture that paired well with the chicken and velvety sauce, creating a balanced and hearty entree. Chicken and gnocchi bake was easy to prepare ahead of time, and could be baked just before serving large groups, making it a practical choice for busy church kitchens. Its appeal lay in combining familiar ingredients in a new, indulgent way, showing how congregations embraced evolving food trends while honoring traditional values of sharing and hospitality. The dish's creamy richness made it especially popular during cooler months when congregations sought comfort and nourishment in their meals. Turkey and dressing casserole was a beloved way to repurpose holiday leftovers into a warm, satisfying meal for church gatherings. Combining shredded turkey with stuffing or dressing, often enriched with broth and sometimes vegetables or cheese, this casserole was baked until the top was crisp and golden. It transformed familiar flavors into a cohesive dish that could feed many with minimal effort. This casserole was especially popular after Thanksgiving or Christmas services, providing a communal way to enjoy festive tastes beyond the holiday itself. Turkey and dressing casserole spoke to values of thrift and togetherness, encouraging the efficient use of food while fostering fellowship around the table. It was a comforting dish that brought a sense of continuity and celebration to church suppers, reminding congregations of the blessings shared throughout the year. The recipe's enduring popularity highlights its role as a cherished tradition in community cooking. Pickled beet salad was a colorful, tangy accompaniment often found on church dinner tables, offering a refreshing contrast to richer main dishes. Made from sliced or diced beets soaked in vinegar and sometimes combined with onions or herbs, this salad was served chilled to awaken the palate. Pickled beet salad was prized not only for its bright appearance, but also for its healthful qualities and long shelf life, making it a reliable choice for congregations preparing meals in advance. The tangy vinegar balanced the natural sweetness of the beets, providing a complex flavor that complemented meat, potatoes, and casseroles. Its presence in old church cookbooks reflects regional preferences, especially in areas where beet cultivation was common. This salad was often part of holiday spreads or regular suppers, contributing both nutrition and variety to communal meals. Pickled beet salad remains a simple yet elegant reminder of how church kitchens balanced practicality with flavor to create memorable dining experiences. Corn pudding was a beloved dish in Southern church meals, celebrated for its comforting blend of sweet and savory flavors. This baked custard combined fresh or canned corn with eggs, milk, sugar, and a touch of butter, resulting in a smooth, creamy texture that was both rich and satisfying. Corn pudding was a staple at potlucks and holiday gatherings, prized for its ability to complement a variety of mains, from ham to fried chicken. Its simplicity made it accessible for cooks of all skill levels, while its depth of flavor made it a crowd pleaser. The dish often brought a sense of warmth and tradition to church suppers, connecting generations through shared recipes passed down over time. Corn pudding embodied Southern hospitality and the spirit of communal dining, proving that humble ingredients could create memorable meals. Its sweet undertones balanced perfectly with savory notes, making it a versatile addition to any feast or casual supper alike. Baked haddock with herb crust was a simple yet elegant supper often featured in church cookbooks, reflecting a desire for wholesome, flavorful fish dishes. The haddock fillets were seasoned and topped with a mixture of breadcrumbs, fresh herbs like parsley and thyme, and a drizzle of butter or oil before baking until golden and tender. This preparation elevated the mild white fish, providing a crisp, aromatic crust that contrasted beautifully with the flaky interior. Baked haddock was popular among congregations seeking lighter fare that was still hearty and satisfying, particularly during Lent or other meatless observances. Its ease of preparation and ability to feed many made it a practical choice for church kitchens. The dish exemplified how simple ingredients combined with care and tradition could produce meals that felt special and nurturing, fostering fellowship at communal tables across generations. Toad in the hole. Casserole was a comfort food classic that made its way into church suppers in the form of sausages baked in a rich batter or casserole dish. This dish combined juicy sausages nestled in a savory Yorkshire pudding-style batter baked until puffy and golden. It was a hearty, satisfying meal that could be prepared in large quantities to feed hungry congregations. The casserole form allowed cooks to adapt the dish for easy serving at socials and potlucks. Toad in the hole brought warmth and familiarity to church dinners, embodying the simplicity and wholesomeness prized in community cooking. Its popularity stemmed from being both filling and economical, using accessible ingredients to create a dish that delighted all ages. This classic demonstrated how church kitchens transformed traditional British recipes into treasured American comfort food staples. Swiss steak with tomato gravy was a staple in many community kitchens, valued for its tenderized beef slow-cooked in a rich, tomato-based sauce. The meat was typically pounded or cubed to soften it before simmering gently in a gravy flavored with tomatoes, onions, and seasonings. This method allowed tougher cuts of beef to become tender and flavorful, stretching resources while providing satisfying nourishment. Swiss steak was often accompanied by mashed potatoes or bread to soak up the hearty gravy. It was a dish that reflected the practicality and ingenuity of church cooks, who made use of economical ingredients to feed large groups. Its comforting, home-style flavors made it a reliable choice for potlucks, holiday meals, and regular suppers alike, symbolizing the warmth and care at the heart of communal dining traditions. Baked macaroni with liver and onions without onions was an altered version of a classic casserole, maintaining the original's rich flavor while adapting to the tastes of larger groups. The dish combined tender pieces of liver with cooked macaroni and a creamy or tomato-based sauce, baked until bubbling and golden on top. Removing onions made it more palatable for congregations sensitive to strong flavors or textures. This casserole provided an economical way to include nutrient-rich liver in meals, often stretching limited supplies to feed many. It was a practical, yet flavorful dish found in many old church cookbooks, showcasing the creativity of home cooks, balancing tradition and taste. Its hearty nature made it a satisfying option for colder months and gatherings, representing a culinary bridge between old-world recipes and American community dining. Vegetable-stuffed cabbage rolls were a nourishing and economical dish commonly served at church suppers, especially in communities with Eastern European heritage. Tender cabbage leaves were filled with a savory mixture of rice, vegetables, and seasonings, then baked or simmered in a tomato sauce until soft and flavorful. This dish was prized for its ability to transform simple ingredients into a comforting, cohesive meal that could be made in large batches. Stuffed cabbage rolls reflected values of thrift and tradition, embodying the spirit of communal cooking and sharing. The balance of tangy tomato sauce and savory filling made this dish a favorite at potlucks, holiday dinners, and festivals. Its continued presence in church cookbooks highlights its role in bringing people together through food that nourished both body and community. Scalloped oysters were a festive supper that graced tables during special church occasions, combining the rich brininess of oysters with creamy sauce and crunchy breadcrumbs. The oysters were layered or mixed into a white sauce made with cream or milk, then topped with buttery breadcrumbs before baking to a golden finish. This dish was a favorite for those seeking indulgence during times when fresh seafood was accessible. It brought elegance to communal meals while still being straightforward to prepare in large quantities. Scalloped oysters celebrated local or seasonal bounty and were often associated with holiday dinners or fundraisers. Their luxurious texture and flavor made them a memorable part of church supper traditions, showcasing how simple ingredients could be transformed into dishes worthy of celebration and shared enjoyment. Cucumber and sour cream salad was a classic cool and creamy side dish that appeared frequently at church potlucks and dinners. Thinly sliced cucumbers were combined with sour cream, vinegar, and sometimes dill or onions to create a refreshing salad that balanced heavier main dishes. This salad was popular because it was quick to prepare, light on the palate, and used inexpensive, readily available ingredients. It added a crisp, tangy contrast to rich casseroles, meats, and breads typically served at church suppers. Cucumber and sour cream salad reflected the desire for balance in communal meals, ensuring variety in textures and flavors. Its simplicity and freshness made it a go-to choice that crossed regional and cultural lines, embodying the practicality and hospitality found in church cooking traditions. Ham and cheese sliders were mini sandwiches baked together with mustard and melted cheese. making them perfect for communal meals and casual church gatherings. These bite-sized sliders combined tender ham slices with sharp or mild cheese inside soft rolls, brushed with a mustard or butter glaze before baking. The result was a warm, gooey, and flavorful snack that could easily be served buffet-style to large groups. Ham and cheese sliders were popular because they were easy to prepare, transport, and share, fitting well with the social nature of church potlucks and socials. They provided a satisfying balance of protein and carbs in a convenient format, encouraging fellowship through food. This dish remains a nostalgic favorite, symbolizing the welcoming atmosphere and shared joy characteristic of church community meals. Baked sweet potato casserole with pecan topping was a sweet and crunchy side or dessert dish that frequently appeared at church suppers, especially during holiday seasons. This casserole featured mashed sweet potatoes blended with sugar, spices, and butter, topped with a crunchy pecan and brown sugar streusel. Baked until bubbly and golden, it combined creamy sweetness with nutty texture, offering a rich complement to savory mains. The dish was celebrated for its comforting flavors and festive appearance, making it a favorite in congregations that valued tradition and seasonal celebration. Baked sweet potato casserole was both a practical and indulgent choice, utilizing inexpensive ingredients to create a memorable dish that brought warmth and joy to communal tables. Its continued popularity in old church cookbooks underscores its role in marking special occasions and fostering togetherness through food. Beef stroganoff with cream of mushroom soup is the dish that gave the classic Russian favorite a distinctly American twist. Instead of delicate beef cuts and fancy sauces, this version relied on hearty ground beef, creamy soup, and simple ingredients that church kitchens could whip up with ease. The cream of mushroom soup served as the base for the sauce, turning what could have been a labor-intensive dish into something fast, flavorful, and family-friendly. It was typically baked in a casserole dish, making it easy to serve a crowd and paired perfectly with egg noodles or rice. While this casserole version might not have been what you'd find in a high-end Russian restaurant, it became an enduring comfort food staple in American church kitchens. If you think this dish hits all the right notes of creamy and savory, wait until you taste the sweet, tangy pie coming up next. It's a Southern classic that's sure to please. In the post-war era, when convenience foods were revolutionizing the American kitchen, Angel's ambrosia pie emerged as a sweet symbol of the times. This chilled, no-bake dessert combined fruit cocktail, shredded coconut, and marshmallows folded into a creamy base, all nestled in a graham cracker crust. It was inspired by ambrosia salad, a classic Southern dish with roots in 19th century holiday traditions. But here, it was given a modern twist, easy to prepare and perfect for the church potluck circuit. Practicality was one of the pie's greatest strengths. With canned fruit cocktail and pre-made crusts widely available, the ingredients were budget-friendly and accessible. The recipe required no cooking, making it an ideal choice for busy homemakers balancing everything from Sunday school prep to feeding a family. Its versatility was another draw. The filling could be adjusted with fresh fruits, whipped cream, or even a splash of fruit juice to suit personal preferences. So, why did this dessert lose its spot on the picnic table? As palates evolved and fresh ingredients became more accessible, dishes relying on canned and processed components fell out of favor. Spaghetti pie casserole is probably one of the first instances we have of fusion food overtaking common American interests. While it doesn't really have a well-documented starting point in history like some other burgers and loaves do, it is pretty interesting to see the kind of pipeline this place has taken. The casserole craze in the middle of the 20th century reflected the broader interest of Americans dipping their toes into foreign cuisines, especially whatever the French and Italians had cooked up. Something about their kitchens was irresistible to most people. People seem to believe that this dish got its inspiration from lasagna and baked ziti, which I can't lie makes sense. Both of those have been a big part of Italian-American culture for ages now, and spaghetti, despite not being typical in Italy, has become a really popular choice for American homes. A spaghetti pie itself was purely a home chef classic, though, and it was thanks to how available processed ingredients were becoming. Now that you could just buy pre-made crusts and spaghetti packets, a lot of the work that people associated with it before just went up in the air. You may not believe this, but it was actually easy to prepare for this. The 1970s were a golden age for layered desserts, and few could compete with the indulgent simplicity of a dessert built on butterscotch pudding, whipped topping, and a graham cracker crust. This was the era of quick-fix elegance, when convenience foods met the creativity of home cooks determined to make something memorable. Blessed Butterscotch Delight was a perfect example. Rich, creamy, and easy to assemble, it became a favorite at church potlucks and family gatherings. The popularity of butterscotch pudding soared during the mid-20th century, largely thanks to its warm, caramel-like flavor and versatility. Paired with graham crackers, which were already a pantry staple, and whipped topping, a revolutionary product that simplified dessert making, it was a dessert that anyone could whip up with minimal effort. And let's not forget the charm of its layered presentation, which made it feel just fancy enough to stand out on a crowded dessert table. So, why did it fade away? By the 1990s, pre-made desserts and lighter options had taken over. The heavy reliance on processed ingredients didn't help, as health trends began favoring fresh fruits and whole grains over pudding mixes and whipped toppings. Layered pea salad might not have gotten the attention it deserved, but once you tasted it, you understood its appeal. This salad is all about layering, from the crispness of the peas to the creamy dressing, the crunchy bacon, and the sweetness of the onions. Every bite offers a perfect balance of flavors and textures. It's the kind of dish that brings everyone back for seconds, especially when the layers are built just right. The peas provide a subtle sweetness and pop, while the mayo-based dressing binds everything together in a way that makes the salad feel indulgent, despite its simplicity. It's a salad that works well for any occasion, but especially for those summer church picnics when you need a dish that can stand up to the heat and still taste great. And speaking of cool, refreshing salads, there's one more dish on the way that brings all the sweet and savory flavors into a gorgeous combination. Stay tuned for the next recipe. In the mid-20th century, before charcuterie boards became the height of culinary fashion, there was the humble yet beloved righteous relish tray. A staple at church picnics and potlucks, this platter featured an assortment of pickles, olives, and pickled vegetables, often accompanied by crackers or crusty bread. Simple yet striking, it was the perfect blend of salty, tangy, and crunchy, an ideal prelude to heartier fare. The historical roots of the relish tray can be traced back to a time when home canning was common, and pickled vegetables were a way to preserve the harvest. Offering an array of pickles at a gathering was not only practical, but also a point of pride for the home cooks who had prepared them. The versatility of the tray was another advantage. It could include anything from classic dill pickles and sweet gherkins to pickled carrots, onions, or even spicy peppers, making it easy to tailor to personal tastes or seasonal availability. So why has the relish tray largely vanished from modern tables? The rise of convenience foods played a big role. Store-bought appetizers and snack mixes replaced the need for handcrafted platters. Southern Soul chili is pretty much exactly what you'd expect that to taste like. You put the words Southern Soul and chili together, and you paint a pretty colorful picture of the Southwest and Texas potlucks. The evolution of this dish is actually pretty closely rooted in Native American, Mexican, and Spanish cultures, though. Over time, it's begun to involve all kinds of things like beef and chili peppers and even tomatoes and beans. The beans were a pretty new addition, because it wasn't until the Depression that people began to use pinto beans and kidney beans. Even black-eyed beans were things that people took to a lot. Southern soul chili in general was a unique spin that drew a lot of its style from soul food staples and a lot of its flavors from Southern cuisine. You had the chili and the focus on natural ingredients, which was something you'd get from soul food. Still, the smoked meats and sweet potatoes were unmistakable. That was a Southern classic if I've ever seen one. Where else do you see that much smoked brisket being used? Or that much pulled pork? Either way, this makes for one really explosive chili, so try it at your own risk. The cheese log, simple yet sophisticated, was a centerpiece of 1970s entertaining, and the chapel cheese log was a classic example of its enduring charm. a blend of cream cheese, shredded cheddar, and seasonings rolled in crushed nuts. This dish was as much about presentation as it was about flavor. Paired with crackers, it graced countless church potlucks and holiday spreads, offering a bite-sized burst of creamy, nutty indulgence. The origins of the cheese log can be traced back to mid-century culinary trends, when convenience and elegance often went hand in hand. Cheese logs became a staple in the 1960s and 70s, popularized by their ease of preparation and adaptability. Home cooks could mix in herbs, spices, or even dried fruit to suit their tastes, making it versatile for various occasions. Its cylindrical shape and nutty coating also made it easy to transport, a key factor for church gatherings. So why did this once celebrated appetizer fall out of favor? As the 1980s ushered in fancier hors d'oeuvres and international cuisines, the humble cheese log started to feel a bit dated. Pre-packaged cheese spreads also gained popularity, offering a more convenient alternative. Buttermilk pie is one of those southern desserts that doesn't get the attention it deserves, but should. Made from pantry staples like buttermilk, eggs, and sugar, this pie is sweet and tangy with a custardy texture that's both light and rich. The combination of buttermilk and sugar gives it a balance of flavors that's simply irresistible. Unlike some other pies that require elaborate ingredients, buttermilk pie is a testament to Southern know-how, proving that you don't need fancy ingredients to make something delicious. It's the kind of dessert that you'd find cooling on the windowsill after church service, ready to be sliced and served with a cup of coffee. With a light golden crust and a smooth filling, buttermilk pie has remained a beloved dish in Southern kitchens. And if you think this classic pie is all you need to finish off a meal, there's another nostalgic finger sandwich that was always a hit at church gatherings. Stay tuned for the next dish. In the world of potlucks and church picnics, the holy hoagie dip was the kind of dish that sparked curiosity and kept people coming back for seconds. Inspired by the classic Italian hoagie, this creamy dip combined diced deli meats like salami and ham, provolone cheese, crisp lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and zesty Italian dressing, all folded into a creamy mayonnaise base. Served with toasted baguette slices or crackers, it was essentially a hoagie deconstructed and ready to share. No messy sandwiches required. The dip's rise in popularity during the late 20th century mirrored America's love for Italian-inspired cuisine and the growing trend of turning traditional dishes into crowd-friendly dips. Its versatility made it a potluck superstar. Adjust the meats, toss in some hot peppers for spice, or lighten it up with low-fat ingredients. The options were endless. Plus, its no-cook preparation meant less time in the kitchen and more time enjoying the gathering. So why did it fade into obscurity? Part of the decline can be attributed to a cultural shift toward lighter, healthier fare. The cream-based dips of yesteryear gave way to hummus and veggie platters. Italian hot dishes, on the other hand, are a Minnesota classic. You couldn't go a day in the streets of the upper Midwest without being dazzled by all the different kinds of fragrances. By strong, alluring scents, I really just mean everyone's and their grandma's different takes on a hot dish. It was a tradition that came during the rise of casseroles in the 1950s, and it was something that became a pantry staple at one point. Casseroles were sort of the thing to eat back then because you could just get everything done with them. They became one of the most popular meals to make for home chefs because there wasn't a dinner where somebody would pout and go like, "Aw, casserole?" Even if it wasn't a lot each and every time, people still got visibly excited seeing Mom pop out of the kitchen with some casserole. Italian hot dishes especially were something to celebrate because it meant she was really going all out for the occasion. Despite this dish not really having much Italian history, it caught the name because it uses a lot of Italian staples. You have your tomato sauces, your pasta, and of course the freshest kind of cheese you could find. If anything, it definitely has Italian stereotypes. In the culinary playbook of the 1970s, green beans weren't just a side dish. They were often dressed to impress. Graceful green bean bundles wrapped in smoky bacon and glazed with brown sugar offered an elegant upgrade to the humble vegetable. With their sweet and savory allure, these bundles quickly became a favorite at church potlucks and holiday dinners. The dish's appeal lay in its balance of practicality and flair. Green beans were an accessible and affordable vegetable, while bacon and brown sugar transformed them into something festive. The bundles were easy to assemble and bake, making them a convenient choice for busy cooks. They also served dual purposes. They worked as both a side dish and an appetizer, seamlessly bridging the gap between finger food and a plated meal. By the late 20th century, however, changing tastes and dietary trends began to edge these bundles off the table. The combination of bacon and sugar, once seen as indulgent, started to feel overly rich for everyday fare. Health-conscious cooking also played a role, as lighter vegetable dishes gained popularity. Heavenly hash, a chilled dish that captured the essence of nostalgia, was a favorite at church functions, especially in the summertime. This simple yet delightful mix of fruit cocktail, mini marshmallows, coconut, and sour cream was a creamy, sweet treat that brought everyone back to the good old days. It was the perfect dessert to bring to a church potluck, offering a refreshing and light dish that could be enjoyed on a warm afternoon. Despite its simplicity, Heavenly Hash had a way of surprising people with its comforting combination of flavors and textures. The fruit cocktail added a juicy sweetness, while the marshmallows provided just the right amount of softness. The coconut brought a subtle chewiness, and the sour cream tied it all together, adding a tangy balance. This dish was the kind of recipe that, once tasted, was never forgotten. But if you're looking for another unexpected twist on comfort food, there's a sweet savory casserole up next that will surely make you rethink pineapple in a whole new way. In the mid-1900s, elegance and practicality often found their way onto the same plate, especially at church picnics and social gatherings. Righteous ribbon sandwiches were a shining example of this fusion, a visually striking, multi-layered finger sandwich that was as much a feast for the eyes as it was for the stomach. These sandwiches combined cream cheese, thinly sliced cucumbers, and pimento spread, layered between vibrant slices of white and rye bread. The name may have sounded fancy, but the recipe was delightfully simple, showcasing the resourcefulness of home cooks. Ribbon sandwiches were the epitome of versatility. They could be made in advance, sliced into perfect little portions, and adapted to suit almost any flavor profile. Need a vegetarian option? No problem. Add more vegetables. Want something heartier? Swap in a layer of ham or chicken salad. Their small size made them easy to serve and eat, ensuring that no one risked losing their sandwich during a spirited game of horseshoes. So, why don't we see them anymore? As trends shifted toward more casual grab-and-go fare, the labor-intensive ribbon sandwiches slowly fell out of favor. Cucumber canapes, on the other hand, are something else entirely. This time around, you can definitely tell where they came from. Just a quick look at their history will point you right to 18th century France, where a canapé was the new trend in town. Fast forward just a little bit to when the first French and European immigrants started coming around to America, and you'll figure out that they actually brought this recipe over with them. Why was this something that did well, though? If you've ever heard of the 1960s, you'll hear the phrase health consciousness thrown around a lot. There was a good reason for that too, but the seeds of all the vegetable-heavy dieting shifts of the later decades were sown during this time. There was a small but progressively louder community of concerned parents and doctors who were voicing their opinions. They firmly believed American diets were bad, just flat-out bad for you. The best thing to do then was to eat greener, and what says green and clean like a cucumber? Okay, corny metaphors aside, it really did help make a gradual and daily shift towards better eating habits. A canapé itself was just a series of small bites with lots of different bread and cracker toppings, but this puff pastry ended up being just what people needed. Baked apple desserts have long been a staple of American cooking, and Alter Apple Betty was a quintessential example of turning humble ingredients into something extraordinary. Made with sliced apples, a fragrant cinnamon-spiced oat topping, and brown sugar for sweetness, this dish was a warm, rustic treat that often graced church potluck tables and family dinners alike. Its roots can be traced back to colonial America, where frugal cooks used seasonal fruits and pantry staples to create desserts that didn't require elaborate preparation. The beauty of Apple Betty was its simplicity. No pie crust to fuss over, just a quick assembly of apples and a crumbly topping that baked to golden perfection. It was versatile too, ideal as a dessert, a sweet breakfast, or even a snack when served cold. So why isn't it as common today? As dessert trends shifted, Apple Betty faced stiff competition from flashier options like pies, cobblers, and crisps. The recipe's old-fashioned simplicity, once a selling point, became overshadowed by desserts that promised more indulgence or visual appeal. Altar Apple. Betty remains a nostalgic reminder of kitchens where everything was made from scratch and desserts were heartfelt contributions to the table. Old-fashioned stewed apples is the kind of dish that evokes instant nostalgia. Slow cooked to perfection with cinnamon, butter, and brown sugar, these apples fill the house with a warm, comforting aroma that instantly transports you back to simpler times. Served in classic glass Pyrex dishes, this sweet, tender dessert was often found at church picnics and family gatherings where it was a reliable crowd pleaser. The apples soften as they cook, absorbing all the flavors of the cinnamon and brown sugar, creating a syrupy, rich sauce that you could almost drink by itself. It's a dish that doesn't need to be fancy to be loved, just the right balance of sweet and spicy, with that home-cooked, heartwarming feeling. It's perfect on its own, or as a topping for ice cream or pound cake. But if you think stewed apples are the ultimate comfort dessert, there's a salad coming up that has just as much nostalgic value. Stay tuned for the next dish. Prayerful Pasta Primavera salad was one of these newcomers, combining tender pasta with fresh, crisp vegetables like bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, and zucchini. Tossed in a zesty Italian vinaigrette, this cold salad brought vibrant colors and refreshing flavors to any gathering, offering a welcome reprieve from heavier dishes. This salad excelled in versatility and practicality. It could be prepared a day ahead, allowing the flavors to meld together beautifully. And it traveled well, perfect for outdoor church picnics. The recipe was also flexible. Any combination of vegetables could be used, depending on what was in season or on hand. Even picky eaters could find something to enjoy in its customizable mix. Add a sprinkle of parmesan, and it could easily transition from a simple side dish to a more filling option. So why has it become a rarity? As pre-packaged pasta salads and pre-made dressings became widely available, the labor of chopping fresh vegetables and mixing homemade vinaigrettes seemed less appealing. Modern convenience overshadowed the care that went into making this dish. Cheese, sausage, and croissant strata is this really comforting brunch dish that actually works amazingly for potlucks. It works because it's the perfect little starter to bring to a party. Most people already know who's going to be bringing what, and there are designated people who bring the really heavy-hitter dishes. That leaves people who really need to nail the sides, appetizers, and desserts. For them, this dish was literally a no-compromise sort of thing. It was absolutely impossible to have a potluck without somebody bringing over a croissant strata, especially if you lived in the openly French neighborhoods. Sorry, by that I mean the ones who would cook nothing else but French food. Strata has lots of layers, especially in Italy, where they take the attention to detail super seriously. Traditional strata recipes make use of sliced bread, baguettes, croissants, and all kinds of other things. This dish was experimented with a lot while it was becoming a big thing in America, so you had people all over the country doing their own version of a strata. Lots of people played around with the kinds of cheeses you could use, or they would switch out the sausages for some other meat. Either way, it was a wonderful little bread-based dish to serve as a filler until the next big meal. During an era when convenience reigned supreme, few desserts captured the hearts of church potlucks quite like a no-bake peanut butter pie. With its creamy, sweet peanut butter filling nestled inside a graham cracker crust, pious peanut butter pie became a symbol of simplicity and indulgence. It was rich, satisfying, and best of all, didn't require turning on the oven, a blessing for busy cooks and warm kitchens. The origins of this dessert lie in the mid-century love affair with peanut butter, which soared in popularity thanks to its affordability and versatility. Pairing it with sweetened condensed milk and whipped topping, staples of the time, turned humble ingredients into a decadent treat. The graham cracker crust, first popularized in the 1930s, added a buttery crunch that balanced the pie's smooth filling. It was practical, easy to assemble, and required little more than a refrigerator to set. Yet, as dessert trends evolved, this pie began to fade from favor. The rise of more elaborate, multi-layered confections and a push toward healthier eating made its rich, calorie-dense filling seem out of step with modern tastes. Cabbage roll casserole takes the beloved classic cabbage rolls and transforms them into an easier, more accessible version without sacrificing any of the delicious flavors. Instead of rolling individual cabbage leaves, everything is layered into a casserole dish, making preparation faster and cleanup easier. Ground beef, rice, and cabbage come together in a savory tomato sauce, creating a hearty, satisfying meal that's perfect for any occasion. The cabbage becomes tender and flavorful, while the ground beef adds richness, and the rice provides a comforting texture. The tomato sauce ties everything together, offering a slightly tangy, savory note that elevates the dish. Cabbage roll casserole has been a staple in many homes for its ability to feed a large group without requiring hours of preparation. It's the kind of dish that's perfect for church dinners, family gatherings, or even a simple weeknight meal. Whether served with a side of cornbread or a fresh salad, it's always a hit. And if you think this casserole is the ultimate comfort food, stay tuned for the next recipe, a sweet treat that's just as nostalgic and satisfying. In the days of church picnics, where hearty casseroles and fried chicken often took center stage, divine dill cucumber salad offered a light, refreshing contrast. This dish, made with thinly sliced cucumbers coated in a tangy blend of vinegar, sour cream, and fresh dill, was a staple in the mid-20th century. It reflected a shift toward incorporating fresh produce into meals, particularly during the warmer months when cucumbers were plentiful in backyard gardens. Practicality was one of its strongest virtues. The ingredients were inexpensive and easy to find, and the dish required no cooking, making it a breeze to prepare for a crowd. It also held up well in the heat, a critical feature for outdoor gatherings. Its versatility meant it could be served as a side dish, a palate cleanser, or even as part of a sandwich filling. Despite its appeal, this crisp and creamy salad eventually fell out of favor. As more elaborate salads and pre-packaged options gained popularity, simpler recipes like this one began to feel outdated. Additionally, the growing focus on global cuisine brought bolder flavors to the forefront, leaving dill cucumber salad in the shadows. Spanakopita, on the other hand, is a traditionally Greek dish. This is a savory pie, and it makes a lot of use of some ingredients you don't typically see as the main stars of the show in America. You have parsley, dill, and spinach as far as herbs and greens go, and feta cheese. Top it off with some caramelized onions, and you're good to go. By far, though, the most interesting thing people use here is phyllo dough. This dough was pretty much the trademark of the pie itself in Greece. It gave the pie a really unique and buttery taste that made it stand out in comparison to the fluffier, heavier doughs that people were using at the time. Traditional pizza dough, for example, was a lot less delicate. You could say that people began to think of fusing spanakopita, which was a really niche dish, by the way, with pizza thanks to the fusion food trends that were going around back then. I think this comes from Mediterranean cuisine, since it has a lot of those flavors. The flaky dough and the use of olive oil to butter it make this a much more interesting pizza than what you would typically expect. Testimony turnip greens, slow-cooked with ham hocks and a splash of vinegar, embodied the resourcefulness of generations who turned humble ingredients into dishes full of flavor and meaning. At church potlucks and family tables, this dish was a testament to heritage and community. Turnip greens have deep roots in Southern cooking, where they were valued for their nutritional benefits and availability. Paired with ham hocks, a cost-effective way to infuse smoky, savory richness, this dish became a staple of rural kitchens. The addition of vinegar not only brightened the greens, but also reflected an age-old culinary practice of balancing rich and tangy flavors. For many families, it was a versatile dish, often served alongside cornbread to soak up the pot liquor, the nutrient-rich broth left behind. But as tastes changed and cooking habits evolved, slow-cooked greens began to fall out of favor. The rise of faster, more convenient vegetable preparations made the hours-long simmering process feel outdated. Moreover, the strong, earthy flavor of turnip greens didn't appeal to everyone, especially younger generations. Still, for those who grew up with them, turnip greens are a reminder of a time when cooking wasn't rushed, and meals were an opportunity to savor both food and fellowship. Which forgotten church supper would you try? Comment below, like the video, and subscribe for more tasty memories.